Hello, everyone. Today I'm talking with Jillian Corsie. She is the director of a short film called Tooth. Uh, just the director, which is usually a little bit different about short films because it's usually writer-director, but you had the unique opportunity of just being the director on this one. So we're going to get into that. So I'm going to ask Jillian to introduce herself and also just give us a high view pitch of what Tooth is about and what people might expect.
Okay, yeah, I'm Jillian. I'm the director. And Tooth is about a woman who is brushing her teeth, and then all of her teeth fall out, come to life, and seek their revenge on her. It's
I
only
think
4.5 minutes long, so it doesn't take up a lot of time.
I think that's a very interesting premise because I was trying to figure out how to, like write a review about a 4-minute movie. And I think that kind of sums it up right there. So,
Basically.
so we had the opportunity of meeting at FilmQuest. Now,
Mhm.
micro short is what they call this. And you were nominated, and not only nominated, but you also won in the category for best micro short.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Tell me, how did that make you feel when that was announced?
It was really cool. I mean, anytime you get an opportunity to be nominated, it's exciting. But to obviously to win, it always feels special and fun. And I'm even though I was wearing a giant tooth costume, I'm an introvert, so it always makes me a little nervous to get up on stage and say something. So yeah, it was really fun, and I've got my award sitting in my little hallway, and yeah, it was really cool.
All right. Well, congratulations on that. So, kind of getting into the movie, I mean, you're dealing with a 4.5 minute short. So, I mean, it's something that a lot of times people think, oh, that's not much. But from seeing what I'm talking with other people, I know sometimes that can create some real problems trying to condense a story into that type of time framework. What would you say is one of the biggest challenges you had as the director of Tooth and with that type of time frame of a movie?
Well, that was really intentional. So Tooth came about because my mom gave me all my baby teeth, and I have anxiety dreams where all my teeth fall out. So I wanted to do something with that. It's not every day you get handed a bunch of teeth. So I did pitch it to my friend Katie, who wrote the script for me. And I said, what would happen if I was brushing my teeth and they all fall out? And she said, well, they would come to life and murder you. And I was like, absolutely. Can you write that? But I am a film festival programmer. I program for a short film festival here in LA called Salute Your Shorts. And I also program for the Slam Dance Film Festival. I got my start as a screener for the Austin Film Festival years ago. And one thing that I've really learned from watching like thousands of short films every year is that the shorter the better. And so Tooth is kind of an experiment for me. I wanted to know, could I take everything I've learned from being a festival programmer and put it into one film and see how it does on the festival circuit? So short films get programmed more easily. So it was really intentional, and I didn't feel like it was a challenge at all. In fact, I think the runtime worked in our favor.
Okay. So let's flip that around then. Since you didn't really have any challenges, what would you say was the unexpected pleasure that you came out with from Tooth?
Tooth is my first narrative film. I've only made documentaries before this. I directed a feature doc and then a short doc, and I'm a documentary editor. So it was fun. I work on a lot of like really heavy social issue films that are kind of tear jerkers, and you spend a lot of time kind of sitting in darkness and exploring and living in other people's trauma. So getting to do something just completely absurd was a joy.
Completely absurd. I like that. So you've been out promoting this, and I heard you mention that you're coming to the end of the journey for Tooth, going through the film festivals. But kind of just talking about it specifically, if somebody wanted to still have a chance to see this, where would they look for it?
That's a great question. I'm trying to figure that out myself. I'm in contact with a couple platforms. We'll see. Like every other short film, it'll probably just end up on YouTube or Vimeo and live there. It's not like a film that's going to get distribution or anything like that.
Okay. So, except maybe in Europe with some of their distribution things, you never know.
Who knows? That's where do you put a film like this? Every time I've posted clips from it, I get banned because it's too violent. So I'm not really sure I've never navigated this world, this kind of genre film world in terms of distribution. So it's a learning process for me, definitely.
Okay. So what is up next, Tori? You say you do a lot of documentaries. So are you diving into another one of those or?
Currently I'm editing a feature doc right now, but I am in a development lab for my first genre feature. So I've kind of somehow pivoted from heavy documentaries to weird genre films. So yeah, I'm working on the script right now, and I hope to shoot in Scotland, which is where my family's from, in the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay. Can you tell us anything about that one? Kind of the teaser.
Sure. Well, the working title right now is Lamb, and it's about an American teenager who goes to spend the summer with her Scottish grandmother in this small remote sheep's town of Moffat, Scotland. And sinister things start happening. It's a little gory and a little strange, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay. This is kind of difficult trying to get a good conversation going on a short film because I don't want to give it away to everybody what happens more than what you've already said.
I
You
don't
know,
mind if you do.
because I thought the little twist at the end was really kind of fun. If you want to kind of
Thanks.
put in there where the tooths fall out. That was just like,
Yeah.
oops.
I
And where
mean,
does
all teeth have their own teeth, obviously.
where does it end? Um, so we got that. So let me ask you some questions kind of about you. You're into editing, it sounds like is your mainstay, and that's what I was seeing. But what what would you say was the driving force that got you into being a filmmaker or even working in the film industry?
Oh gosh. I mean, I started putting on shows when I was like 3. I'm the oldest of 3 girls, and I sort of started looping in all the neighborhood kids. And then when I got my dad's camera, I started making movies with his camera when I was a kid, and then trying to remake Britney Spears music videos when I was in high school. So it just made sense that I went to film school, and I always loved editing, and moved to New York and got a job at a post house and worked my way up, and mostly in TV commercials. So right now that's what I'm doing. I'm juggling a big TV commercial and a feature doc. So all the films I make are just on the side because I can't stop making movies for some reason. And they're always hard, but they're fun.
So Britney Spears videos were an inspiration. What would you say was like some of your biggest film inspirations?
Steven Spielberg. My favorite movie is Jurassic Park. I love M. Night Shyamalan. I was a big X-Files fan. So it's been kind of fun because I think that I fell into documentary filmmaking kind of on accident. When I was working in New York, I wanted to show my boss that I could make stuff too. And I could be, I wanted to start getting more hands-on and editing stuff. So I just started shooting stuff on the street, kind of man on the street interviews, and launched a Kickstarter campaign before Kickstarter was what it is now. And I got donations from 20 different countries. So I kind of accidentally made a feature documentary. I mean, it took me 6 years. But then I just was in doc. But I've always loved horror and genre. And I think in film school, all the guys were kind of considered the talented ones. And I really sort of had to kind of unpack a lot of my internalized misogyny, honestly, and allow myself to believe that I could do kind of that genre stuff that I've always loved. So that's kind of what Tooth was for me, is sort of like, oh yeah, I've always liked this kind of thing. And what if I, leaned into that in a really condensed manner and just tried that out and see how that goes. And it premiered at Slam Dance. It's played a bunch of Oscar qualifying festivals, and it's been an awesome year for my career. So it's been really nice. It's validating.
Yeah, that sounds great. So let's see. With it being so short, have you ever thought about expanding this out to something longer?
Absolutely not. uh Making CG teeth is very expensive. I paid for this film almost completely out of pocket. I did get a small grant, but I brought all my friends onto the shoot, and I'm kind of past the days of asking people to work for free. So I paid everybody full rates, and there's no way that I could do a longer film financially. But also the concept is so stupid. Like, where would you go from here? It's, you can only get away with teeth puppets for so many minutes, I think. So
Well, you never know. You've seen some films out there and they go, oh yeah, this is just the sideline story. Here's the real tale.
yeah.
That's why if there was some other story kind of hiding there. So And then you got Lamb coming up that you're looking at, you're workshopping now. That sounds great. So kind of moving back to the other, we know what your inspiration was, and where does Jillian Corsie find inspiration for the stories she's working on?
Well, Tooth came out of my nightmare of my teeth falling out, and then just the convenience of having my real human teeth to mess around with. But Lamb is my parents are selling. My parents have my grandmother's house. She's no longer alive, but they're going to sell that house. They've had it for about 10 years. And I'm a technically first generation American. My dad was born and raised in Edinburgh. And once they sell that house, it's sort of like, in a way, I feel like I'm losing my connection to where I'm from. So I wanted to shoot, I've always wanted to shoot something in Moffat. And I've had this kind of weird idea for film for like 15 years because I think cows are really scary. So the film was called Cow. And then I just was like, well, maybe I'll just do it about sheep instead. So now it's called Lamb. So I'm taking an old idea and putting it in a different setting and trying to bring in a bit more of an emotional sort of generational tie about family and grief and what it's like to lose not only the ones you love, but where you're from, and sort of the disintegration of history in a way. The one constant in life is change, and I think I really struggle with change. I'm really nostalgic. So how do you turn your nostalgia into horror, I guess?
Yeah, I think we can all do that.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about filmmaking too is that it takes so long. I mean, every film I've made has taken at least three years. Tooth was shorter, but all my docs took a long time, and this feature will certainly take a long time. So it has to be something that I care so much about that I can't not do it, because it is going to take the fundraising and, all of the work that it takes to get a film made.
Okay. So you're looking now, will be several years out. Where, if somebody wanted to look for other work you did, like your documentaries, so where would be a good place that they could check those out?
Trickster, which is my feature documentary about trichotillomania, which is a hair pulling disorder, is available on Amazon and iTunes. And Second Assault, which is a short doc that I did, is just for free on Vimeo. You can just search it. And then all of the other docs that I have cut are pretty much in the festival circuit right now. I've got 3 feature docs that are on their way, which you can't see anywhere yet, but hopefully we'll know more about that soon.
But those are all on the festival circuit.
Yeah, well, actually,
Okay.
one of them, Invisible, that one's available on iTunes, I believe. And then Body Electric is a feature film about body image in the LGBTQ community. That one's on the festival circuit. And film super close to my heart that I spent the last several years working on, called Desert Angel, should be hitting the festival circuit this upcoming year. Very excited about that one.
All right.
A lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, always a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, where I'm trying to find some things to kind of ask, because again, short film. But let me ask you this. Let's go a little bit different angle. Since you've now been doing film, you've kind of worked your way up through some different areas. If you had someone new come to you and say, okay, I want to become a filmmaker, what advice would you give them?
This is probably the most annoying advice ever, and it's like what everybody always tells you, and it's just like, well, what does that mean? But it would be, just make a film. Like, pick up your iPhone, get some friends together, do a doc, do a short story, keep it as short as you can, and practice, and just keep pumping out films that way. Submit to smaller local film festivals and start building your network from there. I think the thing about film is that it's so accessible now. Everyone has the tools. The editorial tools are relatively inexpensive. Everyone has an iPhone. They shoot 4K now. It's just about figuring out your voice and who you are and kind of following that. But filmmakers always think, oh, I'm going to get my first film into Sundance, and that's definitely not how it's going to go. But it's hard not to feel so precious about your work, because you throw so much of yourself into your films, and you just got to be able to live with good enough, and then just keep making, because that's the only way you're going to learn, grow, and develop your network.
Okay. As we kind of finish up, is there anything else that you'd like to share with people about your film, about yourself, about your work?
No, I would say that everything that I make has some sort of underlying message. It's not real clear in Tooth, but part of the reason I made that is because I spent a lot of 2020 on TikTok. I discovered TikTok as an elder millennial, fell in love with it, but I kept seeing all of these girls with the same faces, with the lips and the eyes, and I was like, oh my gosh, if we don't start loving our bodies for how they are, they're going to turn against us and be like, see ya, we're done with this. And so that's sort of the inspiration behind Tooth, is like, this woman has spent all of her life trying to force her teeth to be some way. And they're like, fuck you, we're out of here. We're not doing this anymore. But it was a fun time getting to blend, you know, puppets with 3D animation with 2D faces. That was a challenge, but a really fun time.
All right. I'm glad you kind of said that, because that kind of ties in with what I was writing as the intro to the review for Tooth, is that just kind of summarizing that we do so much to ourselves
Mhm.
and trying to maintain who we are. What happens when something says, I've endured enough?
Right. Right. And like, we should be thankful for the bodies that we have, the teeth that we have, because one day they might not be there. And then what are you going to do? You're going to be dead on the floor.
Chewing cream of wheat.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been a little pleasure talking with you. I'm glad that you were able to join us. Like I tell people, if you like this, please log in. I will be writing a review on Tooth and publishing that out, and I'll have them linked back and forth. Jillian, I'll send you the links to those when they have available. So the final thing I always like to ask, where can they, do you have a website or someplace where they can like follow you on social media that we can put up?
Yeah. I mean, my website is jilliancorsie.com, and I'm on Instagram at jcorsie, and I run a TikTok page for my film festival, Salute Your Shorts, where I give out film festival tips, how to get into film festivals, how to write cover letters and cold emails and all that good stuff. So you can follow me there at Salute Your Shorts.
Those are a couple of good festivals. I've actually done some review work in years back, way back with Slam Dance. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I got to I did programming for short docs this year, and I got to make a phone call to one of the filmmakers, which, you spend so much time like wishing and hoping that you'll get one of those calls. And I honestly couldn't sleep the night before leading up to the call, because I think I was more excited probably to make the call than she was to get the call. But it's really cool. I love getting to work on that side of it and getting to kind of see what happens once you hit submit, because so many filmmakers don't know, and I'm trying to uh, be more transparent about that.
Yeah. I can speak at it from the author's side of things. Once you hit submit on your story, or you're not, whatever you're writing, put out there, it's the same thing. It's like you have to kind of forget about it, move on to the next project, and just let it trickle in and go from
I
there.
know. I'm always telling filmmakers, don't look at your Vimeo stats. It doesn't matter. You can't control it. It doesn't matter what day or what percentage they watch or what the impressions are. It doesn't tell you anything. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. And I have definitely been one that's like looking at my Vimeo stats. So,
Yeah, I think we all do that in one way or
yeah.
another. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
this has been about 15, 20 minutes that we've been talking. Again, I'll just throw it out there before we kind of close everything up. Is there anything else you'd like to share, or we're good to go?
No,
Okay. Thank you for joining us. And I hope to see more work from you soon, because Tooth was a lot of fun. Really
thank
enjoyed it.
you. Thanks so much for your time.
Okay.